Take a deep breath. Let it out slowly. And again, gentle now. In, out. Allow your shoulders to soften, your hands to loosen, and your eyes to grow heavy. Wherever you are tonight, it's okay to rest. There's nothing left for you to do. No tasks to finish, no words to say. Just this moment, quiet, safe, still. You are about to drift into a world long past, but gently remembered. Lit by candlelight. Guided by footsteps on cobblestones. Carried softly on the hush of a medieval evening breeze. Close your eyes now. Feel the soft flicker of firelight against your cheeks. Listen for the distant hoot of an owl in the trees. And let yourself drift. Our story tonight begins just after sunset, in a walled city of stone and soot, where the streets narrow like rivers in shadow, and the rooftops huddle together under a sky of deepening indigo. It is the kind of evening when smoke curls lazily from chimneys, and shutters are drawn with a creak. A faint scent of baking rye and ash still lingers in the air, mingling with the earthy smell of moss growing in the cracks of the walls. And there, beneath the tall arch of the south gate, stands a girl no taller than a bundled broomstick, wrapped in a woolen shawl the color of dried heather. In her mittened hand, she holds a lantern. Its glow is not too bright, not enough to disturb the resting city, just enough to warm the space around her with a gentle amber hue. It flickers quietly, like a breath, like a secret, like the very heartbeat of the evening. Her name is Elsbeth, but most in the town simply call her the Lantern Girl. Each evening, when the bells of St. Elwyn's Abbey toll vespers, Elsbeth begins her walk, from the south gate to the upper square, lighting each lantern that hangs along the old stone walls. They are not gas lamps, not yet. These are the older kind, covered in thinly scraped cow horn or smoky glass, lit by stubby tallow candles. And each one must be kindled by hand. She carries a small iron striker tucked into her apron pocket, and a tiny pouch of beeswax-dipped threads tied with red string. Elsbeth's fingers are quick, her footsteps soft. She knows each crack in the stones, each ivy-covered edge. And as she walks, the flame within her lantern dances with her, steady and sure, casting long shadows that sway and stretch like sleepy cats. The people of the city have grown used to her routine. They see her light from their windows and whisper to their children. There she is again, the Lantern Girl. It will soon be time for bed. They say her light keeps the night watch spirits at bay. That no robber or wraith dares enter a street under her gentle flame. But Elsbeth does not walk for glory. She walks because the quiet calls to her. Because in the hush between candle and shadow, she finds a peace no words can name. Tonight the sky is cloudless. The stars peek down like tiny watchful eyes, and the moon has not yet risen. It is a perfect night for walking, cool but not biting. The frost has not yet crept in from the hills. As Elsbeth strikes the flint against steel, the first spark leaps up with a soft click. Click. Day. She touches the flame to a fresh taper and lifts it to the lantern's waiting wick. The flame catches with a whisper, and the lantern glows to life, spilling its warmth onto the cobblestones below. She smiles. Not a wide smile, just a soft upturn of the lips, the kind that says, "Yes, all is well." This is the beginning of her nightly path. And as she moves from one post to the next, her thoughts drift, like smoke rising toward the eaves of slanted rooftops. She wonders how many footsteps she's taken in her life. How many nights have passed with her wrapped in the same shawl, carrying the same tiny spark. Far off in the distance, a dog barks once, then is quiet. A shutter closes. A baby somewhere begins to cry and then stops. The city sighs around her, old and dreaming. Elsbeth's boots are worn at the soles, but they know every step by memory. She pauses at the second lantern, its horn pane cracked, its frame bent with age. She leans in carefully, warming her hands near the open side, and lights it just the same. And as it flickers to life, moths gather, drawn to its comfort. They dance around the glow, like little scraps of parchment caught in a quiet wind. Elsbeth watches them for a moment, her breath fogging in the lantern's light. She wonders if moths dream. If they follow the lights of this world in search of something lost long ago. Another lantern. Another light. She is halfway up Mill Street now, where the baker's awning flaps in the night breeze, and old flour bags hang like ghostly curtains. The smell here is of ash and warm yeast. It makes her stomach rumble, but there is no time to stop. Not yet. Tomorrow is wash day, she thinks idly. The town square will be full of steaming kettles and lines of linens. She will be asleep by then, with a warm brick at her feet and her shawl wrapped around her like a cocoon. But for now, for this hour between sunset and starlight, she is the keeper of the flame. Quiet one, the soft step on stone, the hush between waking and dreams. And so she walks on. The night has grown a little darker now. The sky overhead deepens into velvet. Stars blink quietly above the rooftops, like they're watching from a great distance. Gentle, patient, and unmoving. Their pale silver light mingles with the warm golden glow of Elsbeth's lantern, and the city seems to exhale. The baker's shop is shuttered, but the heat of the oven still clings to the stone walls. As Elsbeth rounds the corner, she pauses where the cobbles are uneven, right where the drain dips beneath the road. There, beside the stoop, lies a little parcel wrapped in brown paper and twine, just as it is every night. Small gift, still warm. The baker leaves it for her without words. A single sweet bun, spiced with clove and candied peel, dusted in soft sugar that melts on the tongue. He's never spoken of it, never asked for thanks. But Elsbeth knows. And each evening she kneels carefully, picks up the warm bundle, and tucks it gently into her pocket. Not to eat now, no. But for later, when her walk is done and her legs are tired, and the city sleeps. She closes her eyes for just a moment, letting the scent rise up, dough and spice and kindness. It's one of her favorite parts of the night. With the bun tucked away, she lights the lantern that hangs above the bakery's lintel. Its flame glows brighter than the others. Perhaps it's the warmth of the oven behind it, or perhaps the lantern knows that sweetness lives nearby. Whatever the reason, it shines like a little sun, chasing shadows away from the alley mouth. Elsbeth moves on. Past the cooper's shop, where barrel hoops hang like sleeping rings. Past the herbalist's window, where dried sprigs of rosemary sway in bunches. And past the old stone fountain, long dry, its basin cradling rainwater and fallen leaves. Here the street splits. One path leads upward to the town square, the other dips down into the forgotten alley. Most folk never go there. It is narrow, crooked, lined with half-sunken doorways and broken shutters. Some say it was once a lane of stables, others say monks walked here in silence long ago. But Elsbeth knows something different. She knows it holds one of the oldest lanterns in the city. There, tucked behind a leaning post and wrapped in rusted iron bands, is a horn-pane lantern older than the gate itself. Its hinges groan when opened. Its wick burns slow and blue. But it has never gone dark, not when Elsbeth has breath in her body. So she turns left, into the narrow way. Her footsteps echo more loudly here, bouncing between walls. She walks softly past the cracked stones and leaning beams, her breath visible in the chill. The wind shifts just slightly, and brings with it the scent of wet leaves and iron. Somewhere in the alley, a rat rustles behind a broken crate. But Elsbeth is not afraid. She's been walking this path since she was 10 years old. And now, at nearly 15, the alley feels like an old friend. At last, she reaches the lantern. Its post is wrapped in ivy, and a spider has spun a tiny silver net between its brackets. Elsbeth leans in, brushing the web gently to one side, whispering an apology. She opens the creaking door. And with care, she touches her taper to the wick. It takes longer to catch. Just a moment more. A soft bloom of flame, pale blue at first, then golden. The alley breathes again. The shadows here stretch long and low. A stray cat steps out from beneath a rain barrel, blinking slowly in the light. It meows once, and Elsbeth offers her hand. The cat rubs against her fingers, then disappears again, content. This place, forgotten by most, is her secret chapel. Not for prayer exactly, but for quiet, for stillness, for remembering. Sometimes she stops here and speaks softly to the night. She tells it things she's too shy to say aloud by day. Wishes, dreams, small stories. Tonight she speaks only one word. Thank you. And the alley seems to nod. With her lantern lit, Elsbeth turns and makes her way back to the main road. The lantern light now trails behind her, marking her path like breadcrumbs. Each pool of glow a promise. You are not alone. This night is watched. This path is safe. She moves slowly now. Not tired exactly. Just full of the quiet. Heavy with peace. One more lantern waits before the climb to the square. Just one. And above, the sky stretches endless and dark, the stars more awake than ever. The final lantern before the rise sits beside the old watchman's bench, half sunken into the curve of the wall, its legs resting on worn stone. No one guards the south road anymore. Not since the last town watch retired 10 winters past. But the bench remains, tucked neatly between ivy and moss, as if waiting for someone to return. Elsbeth slows her steps as she approaches. Here the air feels older, ill, as though even the wind knows to pass quietly. She lowers herself to the bench with a gentle sigh. Not long, just a moment. The shawl wrapped around her shoulders catches the faintest breeze, and she tightens it with fingers still warm from the lantern's glow. There, next to the bench, is the smallest lantern in the city. A squat, soot-dark frame with crooked panes of horn that make the light shimmer like honey in water. It sits low, barely at her knee. Elsbeth always lights this one sitting down. Feels more like a ritual than a task. With care she pulls the striker once more. Click. And again click. The taper catches. She lifts it, and the little lantern breathes to life with a sleepy flicker. Its flame glows softer than the rest, tinted slightly orange by old horn and soot. She leans back for a moment and closes her eyes. All around her, the sounds of the sleeping town settle like a lullaby. The distant flap of a tavern sign swinging in the breeze. The faint creak of a laundry line swaying between chimneys. A soft, rhythmic drip from a hidden gutter. And above it all, the slow turning of the clock tower gears. So faint, so far, yet steady as a heartbeat. The great clock does not chime at night. But it moves, tick by patient tick, guiding the hours as the stars glide overhead. Elsbeth listens to it. Not with her ears, no, but with her chest. With the bones of her arms and the soles of her feet. The whole city hums with it, like an old lullaby everyone knows but no one sings. She opens her eyes again and smiles at the lantern she's just lit. Flickers as if to say thank you. And now comes the climb. The street bends upward here, steep and cobbled, edged by dry stone walls and the skeletons of sleeping trees. In summer, the path is shaded by green. But now, in the cooler months, it feels wide and open to the stars. Elsbeth rises slowly from the bench, dusting her skirt with the back of her hand. Her legs ache just a little, not with pain, but with that good steady weariness that comes from quiet work done well. She begins her ascent one step at a time, each footfall measured, deliberate, stone by stone. She's walked this slope so often she knows where the loose stones are, where the ground rises just slightly on the left, where the wind always seems to gather before curling past the chapel bell tower. And sure enough, as she nears the midpoint of the hill, a breeze lifts from the east, cool and clean. It brushes her cheek like a mother's hand, ruffles the hem of her shawl, and makes the flame in her lantern flutter like a heartbeat. She holds the lantern steady, cupping her palm around the glass in case the wind grows bold. But it does not. It only passes, and moves on, whispering through the tree limbs and across the rooftops like an invisible choir. At the top of the hill sits the high square. It is quiet now, empty but for a few overturned crates and the statue of Saint Elwin, who holds a stone lantern in his carved hands, a symbol of light in dark times. Elsbeth steps onto the flagstones of the square. Her boots click softly, the only sound in the stillness. Shadows stretch from the corners, long and soft. Here 5 lanterns wait. They stand in a wide half-circle, surrounding the fountain at the square center. A dry basin carved with fish, its edges green with lichen. Each lantern is different. One is tall and thin, with narrow glass and a brass cap. One is squat and boxy, its iron frame bent from frost. One leans slightly to the left, as if listening. Another has a bent handle, tied back with twine. And the last, her favorite, is round and full like a harvest moon. Its panes of horn so clean they shine like warm mica. She walks from one to the next, lighting each with the same gentle motion. Strike, spark, breathe, glow. Each one responds differently. Some flare quickly, others hesitate. But all bloom in the end, one by one, until the whole square is bathed in quiet gold. It is not bright, not at all. But it is enough. Enough to warm the space. To mark the moment. To say to the sleeping town, we are here. We are safe. We are held by light. Elsbeth stands at the center of the square now. Lantern in hand. Flame glowing softly at her side. Behind her, the wind stirs again. Not cold this time, but light like the breath of something ancient and kind. And overhead, the stars gleam quietly in the sky. Still watching, still listening, still awake. The lanterns in the square are all lit now. 5 little suns, glowing low and golden, casting long, sleepy shadows across the worn flagstones. Elsbeth stands among them in silence, listening not for sound, but for stillness. The kind of stillness that wraps itself around your shoulders like a second shawl. The kind that settles behind your eyes and slows your thoughts like cooling wax. She breathes in. The air here is different. Thinner maybe. Or simply higher, closer to the sky. The chapel bells do not ring this late. But she can see the steeple, gray against a darker gray, reaching upward into the quiet. Behind the chapel, hidden from most, is the south-facing garden wall. It crumbles slightly at the corners. Moss coats the stone in soft patches like green velvet. And tucked into a small recess in the wall, hidden behind ivy and shadow, is a lantern only Elsbeth lights. Even the priest doesn't know it's there. Some say the wall is older than the chapel itself. That long ago, before the city ever rose around it, monks built this garden for moonlit prayers. And that one small lamp was always lit at night, to guide the spirits of the weary home. Elsbeth doesn't know if that's true, but she lights the lantern just the same. Every night, quietly, faithfully, she steps softly now, past the fountain's edge, past the statue of Saint Elwyn, her boots making no sound on the worn stone path. The garden gate creaks, just a little when she pushes it open. No one oils the hinges anymore, but the sound is familiar, welcoming. Like an old friend clearing their throat. Inside the garden sleeps. Even in winter, the rosemary bushes hold their scent. The dry branches of lavender sway gently in the breeze. Their fragrance faint but comforting, like a memory warmed by time. She walks the path she knows by heart. The lantern swings at her side, casting a golden halo around the herbs and shrubs. And there it is, tucked into the wall, half hidden, almost forgotten. The old lantern. Its frame is carved with small symbols, barely visible under age and soot. A crescent moon. Cluster of stars. A winding vine. Elsbeth kneels. The stone beneath her is cold, but she doesn't mind. She draws a new taper from her pouch, strikes the flint, watches the spark catch, then grow gently, into a soft dancing flame. She holds the light to the lantern's blackened wick, and slowly it blooms. The lantern glows dimmer than the others. Its horn panes are old and clouded, but the warmth it gives off, it's different. It's not just heat. It's presence. Like the feeling of a hand held loosely in yours. Like the hush of someone sitting beside you in the dark. Not speaking, just being. Elsbeth closes her eyes. The garden breathes. The flame flickers once, then steadies. She stays like this a moment longer. Not thinking, not planning, not moving. Just breathing. Now. The chapel behind her is silent. Its stones ancient and full of old prayers. Prayers whispered in languages long forgotten. Words that once filled these garden paths with song. Now only the wind sings. And tonight it sings gently. Elsbeth rises at last. Brushes the moss from her skirts. And turns. She doesn't look back. Not because she doesn't care. But because she knows. The lantern will keep its promise. It always does. Back through the gate. Past the square. Down the hill again. Her journey retraced but changed somehow. As if the city has breathed her in. And is now slowly breathing her out again. Like a lullaby fading at the edge of sleep. The lantern in her hand grows lighter. She's used most of the wax. Its flame still dances. But its edges are softer now. Blurred like a dream half remembered. Elsbeth yawns. She covers her mouth with the back of her hand. Eyes blinking slower than before. She has only a few more steps to go. The south gate waits. Silent and strong. Its heavy arch frames the night sky beyond. Picture of stars and distant hills. And there beneath the gate, where she began, stands her last lantern post. Sturdy. Familiar. She smiles. The arch of the south gate looms above. Its stones dark with dew. Etched with centuries of wind and time. Once, soldiers had passed beneath it, cloaked in iron and dust. Now only shadows pass. In Elsbeth, she stands still for a moment beneath the arch. This is where her walk began. And this is where it ends. The city behind her glows softly now. Stitched with little threads of gold. Each lantern she lit still burns behind her. A quiet trail of warmth left for those who wander in dreams. She kneels once more. The hem of her skirt brushing against the cool stone. Her knees settle into the grooves worn by years of footsteps. And she lifts her lantern gently like a teacup, careful not to spill the last of the light. The post before her holds no lantern of its own. It's where hers rests for the night. Hung on a crooked iron hook. The wood worn smooth from her hands. She slips the lantern into place with a soft clink. Then she steps back. Just far enough to see it glow. This final lantern is not the brightest. Doesn't need to be. It's a keeper of endings. A whisper rather than a call. And now, for just a moment, Elsbeth waits. She does this every night. After the last light is set, she stands beneath the gate, looking out over the quiet fields beyond. The world outside the walls is wide. Soft hills roll under the moon. And far in the distance, you can sometimes hear the stream gurgle like a sleeping child. She has never gone far beyond the gate. Not yet. But she dreams of it. Of the green road that curves between trees. Of the tiny villages where people might also light lanterns at dusk. Of a sky so full of stars it presses gently on your chest. Someday perhaps, but not tonight. Tonight is for stillness. And she savors it. Behind her the city breathes. Its sounds have faded now. No more barking dogs. No late shutters creaking. Just the wind. And the hush of windows closed against the cold. Elsbeth's eyes grow heavier. Not from weariness exactly, but from peace. The kind of peace that comes when every task is done. When every step has led you home. Turns. Shawl tucked tighter. Boots soft on the stones. There's a path beside the gate. That leads to her little room. Just above the cooper's shop. Where the smell of oak and tar clings to the beams. Her bed waits there. Small and neat. With a brick wrapped in flannel warming the sheets. And on the windowsill, a tiny candle stub she lights only on nights when the sky is especially clear. She walks this last stretch slowly. Not because she's tired, but because she knows that soon the world will close its eyes. Each step is a lullaby. Each breath, a page turning in a book of dreams. As she rounds the final corner, She glances back once, just once, and sees her lantern, still glowing beneath the gate. Its light does not call for attention, simply is. Promise made quietly, a kindness left burning, and the stars above seem to nod. The key to her room is warm from her pocket, worn smooth by time and use. It slips into the lock with a quiet click, and the door opens onto the hush of home. A low ceiling greets her, sloping gently with the roof. Wooden beams crisscrossing above like the bones of a resting bird. Everything inside smells faintly of lavender and smoke, of wool blankets, beeswax, and old paper. Elsbeth steps inside, pulls the door closed behind her with care, and lets the night stay on the other side. This room, it is small, but it is hers. A narrow bed rests in the corner, tucked beside the chimney. One quilt, one pillow, and the flannel-wrapped brick beneath the sheets. Give it just enough warmth to welcome her bones. Next to the bed stands a small shelf, holding 3 worn books, a cup for water, and a folded handkerchief stitched with tiny blue flowers. Her boots come off first, carefully unlaced, set side by side. Then her shawl, unwrapped from her shoulders, folded and laid neatly over the chair. She moves slowly now, each motion deliberate, as though the air itself is heavier in this little room, like sleep pressing in from all sides. By the window, a candle stub waits. She strikes a match, and the wick catches with a low amber glow, just enough light to see by, not enough to disturb the quiet. The window pane is cool beneath her fingertips. She leans close, breathing a small patch of fog into the glass, and gazes out once more across the rooftops. The lanterns she lit still shine, tiny stars dotting the streets below, mirroring the sky above. They glow for others now, for those who dream behind shutters and quilts, for the mice in the bakery's walls, for the cats that prowl beside chimneys, and for the wind itself, which curls around each glowing flame as if to say, "Here is warmth, here is safe." Elsbeth closes her eyes, not from sleep just yet, but from a stillness so deep it feels like a tide moving through her. She steps away from the window, extinguishes the candle with a gentle breath, and pulls back the quilt on her bed. The flannel-wrapped brick has done its work. The sheets are warm beneath her hand. She slips between them, pulling the covers up to her chin, the softness cradling her like a lullaby folded in cloth. For a moment, she stares at the ceiling beams, watching the shadows shift gently in the moonlight that slips through the shutter cracks. Sometimes she imagines the beams above her are the ribs of a great sleeping creature. A dragon, perhaps, or a star whale floating in the sky. Something vast and kind. His breath slow, his heartbeat deep. And she, a tiny passenger in its warm belly, rocked to sleep by sky tides and lantern light. Yawns. It's not a large yawn, just a soft one, like the flutter of wings, like the hush before a snowfall. In her mind, the streets are still glowing. Her lantern beneath the south gate still burns. The square still holds its soft ring of flame. And the forgotten alley, yes, even that, glimmers quietly in the dark. She has done her part. The city sleeps, and so does she. The room is dark now. Not cold, not lonely. Just wrapped in shadow like a soft woolen blanket. The warmth of the bed curls around her, gathering at her feet, behind her knees, beneath her shoulder blades. The pillow cradles her head as though it remembers every shape she's ever pressed into it. Elsbeth lies still, breathing slow, eyes half-lidded. But the mind still wanders. Not far, just gently. In the space between waking and sleep, images drift like snowflakes caught in candlelight, weightless, turning silent. She sees the lanterns she lit, as if from above, as if her dreaming self is gliding over rooftops, bare feet resting on the wind. Down Mill Street they glow, along the bakery's stoop, still warm with kindness. The alley behind the herbalist, soft with shadows. The hidden light beneath the chapel wall. each one shining steady, serene. In her dream, the lantern flames begin to move. Not wildly, not fast. Just a gentle swirl. Like they are breathing with her. Expanding. Contracting. Growing softer. Then brightening again. And the flame beneath the south gate, the last she placed, flickers gold. Then silver. Then something like starlight. The gate itself begins to shift. Not crumble. Not fall. But open. As if it has always known it was more than stone. Beyond it, the hills roll wider. Deeper than they ever seemed by day. And along the road, lanterns bloom. Dozens. Hundreds. Each one lighting in turn as if called to wake from a long, peaceful sleep. Elsbeth's dream self steps beyond the gate. Her shawl has become a cloak now. Long and trailing behind her like night mist. Her lantern is no longer in hand. It floats beside her, hovering gently, lighting each footstep as she walks. The fields stretch wide. Silent sheep rest among tall grass. Tiny mice scurry under hedge roots. And above, an owl coasts on wind so quiet. Might be dreaming too. She passes no people. Not yet. Only their traces. A boot print near a stream. A carved mark on a gatepost. A half-filled water jug left beneath a tree. These things do not startle her. They feel expected. As if she's following a path left just for her. By someone who once carried their own lantern. In the hush of the world. The road leads her through a grove of trees. Their bare limbs forming arches overhead. Not tangled. Not dark. But still. The branches form patterns like the bones of cathedral ceilings. And as she walks beneath them, the wind hums. Not a song with words. No. Just a sound like breath across glass. Or the gentle ringing of a bell far away. She passes under the branches like a traveler through a chapel. Each step falls like a soft amen. And then, at the edge of a small rise, she stops. Below her, in a hollow cradled by trees, is a circle of lanterns. Their light does not shine upward, but inward, toward the center, toward something waiting. Elsbeth feels no fear, only quiet wonder. She steps forward. Leaves rustle softly beneath her feet. Each flame leans gently as she nears. As if bowing. And in the center of the ring, not stone, not wood, but something glowing. Pool of light. No edges. No reflection. Just light. Warm. Low. Ill. Her dream self kneels beside it. She does not touch it. She only rests beside it. As she might a fire on a cold night. And there, in the center of the dream, she begins to hum. Tune without words. One she does not remember learning, and yet knows by heart. It is the kind of sound that opens a door within you. The kind that tucks you in without hands. A lullaby for something older than sleep. And the pool of light glistens. She falls upward. As softly as breath leaving a mirror. Not with speed. Not with sound. But with stillness. As if the world has turned itself inside out. Just for her. The pool of light beneath her begins to fade, folding itself into quiet. Not lost, just returned. Like a blanket smoothed over a bed. After warm sleep, the dream lifts her gently. Through the memory of trees. The hush of lantern-lit paths. The rooftops wrapped in moonlight. She sees the city below her now. Not as stone and wood, but as a constellation. A pattern of warm dots. Each one flickering gently in its own rhythm. A star map of care. Each lantern she lit tonight still glows beneath her. And she sees the invisible threads. Connecting them all. Silver as cobweb. Delicate as a lullaby. She sees how the light in one alley touches a shutter in another. How the glow from the bakery stoop spills just enough to warm a doorstep 3 streets away. She sees how even her smallest flame has stirred something in the dark. And she understands. It was never just light. It was never just duty. It was never just walking through cobblestone silence. It was presence. Gentle watchfulness. The way a flame, even a small one, says without words, "You're not alone." The sky above her stretches wide now. A dome of velvet blue, sprinkled with stars too patient to blink. And somewhere among them, she senses something watching. Not with eyes, but with memory. Something that remembers all who have lit lanterns. In all the nights before, she feels them near. A boy in a harbor town, carrying a lantern through fog. An old woman in a stone tower, lighting candles in the windows. For ships that never returned. A monk with trembling hands, setting flame to wick during a siege. A girl in a forested village, placing small lights in trees to guide her brother home. Each one part of the same soft lineage. A long quiet chain, stretching through time. Without shouting. And now her, Elsbeth, floats gently among their memories. She feels no difference between them and herself. Only a shared warmth. As if every lantern ever lit was simply a single breath, passed from one kind soul to the next. The little lantern in her hand still glows. The one she carried back from the pool. But now it begins to dissolve. Not fade, but unfold. It opens like a flower made of light. Each petal glowing and lifting. Until it becomes nothing at all. But warmth. It soaks into her chest. Not a weight, but a hush. A softness that spreads through her arms, her legs, her lungs. Her breath slows. Now. Now. No more climbing. No more steps. No more cobbles underfoot. The sky. Just warmth. Just stillness. And then, voice. Not outside her, but inside. Not a sound, but a presence. Says nothing. And yet, somehow, she knows what it means. You may rest now. The pool of light in her dream is not bright, not harsh. It glows like honey warmed over a hearth. Like morning sun through linen curtains. Like a memory that never fades. Elsbeth does not speak. She only hums. Softly. With no need for words. The hum rises and falls with her breath. It curls around her ankles like mist. It slips between the lanterns like a quiet thread. Stitching them together. Into something whole. She hums. The pool of light begins to ripple. Not with sound, but with knowing. Like it understands her. As if it has always known her. She does not question it. She only closes her eyes. And when she opens them again, she is no longer beside the pool. She is within it. There is no falling. No splash. Only a deep warmth rising around her. A warmth without edge. Like soaking into a dream that has always been waiting. The lantern she once carried now floats beside her. Not needed, but still faithful. The light within it glows steady, as if keeping time. With her breath. And all around her, memories drift. But not like ordinary dreams. Not sharp or scattered. No. These are soft, golden fragments. A candle being lit by her mother's hand. Years ago, on a winter's night. The smell of warm barley bread as the oven door opened. The scrape of her father's boots outside the gate. Always at the same hour. The hush of snowfall on the chapel roof. The sound of her own voice, years younger. Reading aloud from a borrowed book in the lantern's glow. Each memory a petal. Each petal floating in light. Each one turning slowly, peacefully. As though carried by a current no one can see. She does not chase them. She does not need to. They come when they wish. And they rest beside her. Time stretches. Or perhaps, folds, softly. Like linens being put away for spring. She feels no weight. No urgency. Only stillness. In this pool of light. There is no before. No after. Only now. And in the center of now. She finds something else. Something smaller. But stronger. Lantern. Not one she's ever lit before. Its frame is unlike any other. Made not of wood or brass or horn. But something softer. Glowing gently from within. It floats toward her. Watches. Eyes wide but unblinking. As the little lantern settles just above her palm. It weighs nothing. And yet, feels full. She brings it close. And in the flame, she sees faces. Not clearly, just glimpses, shadows, expressions. A baker with flour on his nose. A baby smiling in its sleep. A girl no older than she, peeking out from behind a shutter. These are not dreams. They are real. Or perhaps more real than dreams. They are the people her lanterns have touched. The warmth she left behind. The calm she gave even without knowing. And the little lantern in her hand holds their light now. Not hers alone. The warmth has returned to her. Carried back from the very people she walked among. Elsbeth does not cry. But something inside her opens. Softly. Like a flower in moonlight. She holds the lantern close to her chest. Pulses gently. Not in heat. But in love. Not in flame. But in memory. And the pool of light around her begins to dim. Not vanish. Just lower. Like candlelight before sleep. The lantern remains. She closes her eyes once more. And this time, she begins to fall upward. The presence around her begins to soften. Not vanish. Just grow gentler. Like a warm hand slowly withdrawing after a long hold. The stars above her no longer shimmer. A pulse. Steady. Like a heartbeat felt through the tips of your fingers. Elsbeth does not open her eyes. And yet, she sees. The rooftops of the city begin to return. Only they are not quite rooftops now. They are outlines of memory. Softly drawn in twilight ink. The chimneys lean as if nodding in sleep. The shutters hang loose like half-closed eyelids. The cobbled paths she knows so well are no longer hard stone, but velvet ribbons laid across the dreaming ground. She floats downward now, back through this softened version of her world. Each landmark familiar, but quieter, gentler. As though the city too is dreaming. There is the square, where 5 lanterns still burn. Their light hums, soft chorus with no words. There is the chapel garden. The herbs sway though there's no wind. The lantern in the ivy glows steady, guarding nothing. Peace. There is the watchman's bench. Tea as always, but no longer waiting. Now, it simply is. And at last, there is the south gate. It waits beneath her, stone made soft by starlight. The crooked iron hook still cradling her lantern. Its glow is not strong, not even bright, but it is whole, and it is hers. Her feet find the ground again. Not with sound, just with stillness. Like a snowflake settling into the palm of a mittened hand. She stands beneath the gate. But this time, she does not light anything. There is no flame to tend. No wick to touch. The lantern glows on its own now. Held by something deeper than oil or wax. Elsbeth places one hand on the stone arch. Rough and cool beneath her fingers. The scent of the fields beyond floats in. Earth. And night herbs. And something like stars. She closes her eyes. Mail. And then, she steps back. Into the city. Into the warmth. Into the hush. The cobbles do not echo beneath her. They cradle her steps. Like hands carrying a sleeping child upstairs. She does not rush. There is no need. Each doorway she passes feels like a closed eye. Each window a sleeping sigh. The door to her room waits open. Not wide. Just enough. She steps inside. The quilt is still warm. The flannel-wrapped brick still holding its small gift of heat. The candle stub has not moved. But Elsbeth does not light it. She does not need to see. She knows the room by heart. Every beam. Every creak. Every breath. She lies down slowly. The pillow welcomes her. The bed hums with the shape of her sleep. The city behind her glows. The gate behind her glows. The lanterns she lit glow. 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 She closes her eyes again. This time not to dream, but to rest. Truly rest. Fully. Finally. Without motion. Without task. Without anything at all. Peace. Her last thought. A whisper so faint it is almost silence. Is not a word. It is a feeling. The shape of warmth. The sound of being safe. The glow of a lantern. seen from far away, and known without doubt to be your own. The weight of the quilt presses down, not heavy, but sure, like a lullaby you can feel, like the hush of snow before it falls. Elsbeth curls slightly beneath it, shoulders relaxing into the mattress, knees tucked just so. Her hands rest near her heart, one palm open, as if it still remembers holding the final lantern. Outside, the streets do not stir. Even the wind seems to sleep. Somewhere far away, a shutter rattles once, then goes still. A cat pads across a rooftop, tail raised like a question, before settling onto warm slates. And above it all, the stars keep their slow, silent watch. Elsbeth's breath evens out, a rhythm so quiet it might be mistaken for silence. But it is not. It is the sound of a soul returning to rest. The sound of a lantern's flame, settling into stillness. In her chest, something warm glows on, not as a dream, but as a memory becoming part of her. The weight of her walk, the comfort of her path, the hidden light by the chapel wall, the 5 flames around the fountain, the crooked lantern behind the bakery, each step, each glow, folding now into the soft weave of her mind. Not lost, not even fading, just absorbed, the way a warm cup fades into your hands, or a lullaby into your breath. She does not move. She does not need to. The city watches over her now. The very stones remember her footfalls. The lantern posts remember her careful hands. The wind remembers the way her shawl danced on the hill. She has left behind more than light. She has left behind calm. A hush that still lingers in the alleys. A slow rhythm that the gutters echo. A kindness that even the iron hooks carry. And now the work is done. Elsbeth's body grows heavier, as though the bed is slowly pulling her inward. Not in sinking, but in gathering, cradling her, keeping her. And in her last sliver of wakefulness, just before the world melts completely, she imagines, somewhere down on the street, beneath the south gate, passerby has stopped. They look up. They see the soft golden glow of the lantern, and they smile, not because they know who lit it, not because they understand, but because they feel it. They feel safe. They feel seen, even in the dark. And far above, in a sky made of velvet and deep breath, a single star seems to lower its light, as though tipping its hat, to a girl who once walked with a lantern, and left behind the shape of peace. The room holds her now, like a shell holds the sound of the sea. She is motionless beneath her quilt, yet everywhere at once. In the paths she walked, the lanterns she lit, the warmth she left behind. She does not dream anymore. To rest, true deep rest, the kind that comes only when all things have been done with care, when the body has moved with purpose, and the soul has walked gently through its world. Outside her window, the first edge of dawn waits, not yet visible, but sensed, like the distant footfall of someone you love, approaching your door. And in the city's still sleeping streets, the lanterns burn on. Their glow has changed, just slightly, no longer flickering, now humming. A soft golden hum that pulses low and steady, like a lullaby remembered without melody. A blackbird rustles in a chimney flue. Shudder stirs. But nothing wakes yet. Not truly. Not until she does. And she will not rise for a while. Not until the sun is high enough to catch the brass of the chapel's bell and spill its warmth onto the cobbled square. Not until the baker opens her shutters and the smell of flour and yeast begins to stretch down the lanes. Not until the little children run barefoot along the stone steps, where she once lit a lantern no one noticed, but someone always saw. Until then, the lanterns keep watch. The wind tiptoes, the sky waits, and Elsbeth sleeps on, wrapped in warmth, guarded by quiet, held by the city she loved, with every step. And even if no one knows her name, even if time carries her away, the light remains. It always does. It always will. Because somewhere, a flame was lit with care, and care never fades. Good night, dear listener. Rest well. The lanterns are lit, and you are safe. Crescent moon.